Welcome back to the Versus Showdown. Today, we're diving into a devastating what-if scenario that changes the monsterverse forever. What if Godzilla evolved in 2021, not just stronger, but altered by forces he was never meant to touch? The evolution doesn't just change Godzilla, it reshapes the balance of the Titans. New abilities emerge, old enemies rise, and the line between alpha and extinction begins to blur. Get ready for colossal battles, brutal evolution, and a war that pushes every Titan to their limit. Because this time, survival isn't guaranteed. 2021, a claw claws into the ice trying to break through as the Queen Muto tries to get into the Arctic. Godzilla rises onto the shore, stepping onto the ice as he roars at the Queen Muto. The Queen roars back as she charges. Godzilla's dorsals flash as he charges. The Queen Muto rears up to stab her claws into Godzilla, but Godzilla dodges, having her claws slam into the ice, and he bites down onto her neck, lifting her into the air before slamming her down onto the ice. The Queen Muto hits Godzilla in the chest, making him stumble away as she quickly gets up and slams her arms into the ice, but Godzilla dodges, taking a step back. The dorsals on his tail start to glow as the glow slowly climbs up his back. Godzilla stands up straight, puffing out his chest, but the Queen's claw glows red as she rears it up and slams it onto the ground, making a red EMP shockwaves ring out across the land. Godzilla's dorsals flicker before shooting a blue flame at the Queen, making her stumble back a bit. Godzilla charges again, stopping his atomic breath as the Queen Muto looks up. He leans over and grabs the Muto, holding her on his back before he throws her. She crashes into the icy land. Her claws dig into the ice as she slows and stops herself from sliding. She roars again, and Godzilla does the same, running at the Muto. Before the Queen Muto has time to react, he knees her in the face, making her fall onto her back. He reaches down and grabs her head to bring her up. She struggles against his grip as he grabs the Queen's jaw, forcing it open, as he shoots his atomic breath down her throat. Her limbs fall to her sides as her body goes limp, and her head slowly detaches from her body, hitting the ice with a thud. Godzilla roars up into the sky in victory before he suddenly stops mid-roar, sensing something. He doesn't quite know what it is, but it feels similar to Ghidorah's energy, way too similar. Godzilla remembers how much power he needed to fight Ghidorah, how he almost died fighting. Godzilla roars as he goes into the ice, burying himself deep into the biggest iceberg he could find. He's going to evolve. Hours later, a boat stops short of the shore of the Arctic. After a few minutes, Kong finally reaches the hollow Earth portal with Monarch following behind. They got lucky this time. With Godzilla being dormant, it made it easier to get Kong here. Hours later, the ice starts to crack. As Godzilla's eye opens, he breaks through the ice, steam rising as he roars up into the sky. His dorsals are now sharper, curving more down. He has longer arms and a skinnier build, but his eyes are sleek and long. Godzilla jumps into the water, heading to Hong Kong to fight this Ghidorah copy. He swims through the waters, rising up, breaking a bridge in half as he steps onto land, heading to where he senses the power, but suddenly stops as he senses Kong right below him. He shakes his head and looks up, his mouth glowing a bright red orange. Before he shoots his atomic breath, a EMP shock wave rings out from his mouth, disabling all the power right when he shoots his beam down at the ground. Kong roars at the Monarch team right as the beam breaks through the floor, making Kong stumble back. Kong quickly grabs his axe and jumps down the hole. The axe blade stabs into the ground as Kong pulls himself up into Hong Kong and takes a step on land as he stands looking at Godzilla. Kong slams his axe down, roaring at Godzilla as he roars back. Kong grabs his axe, jumping into the air, trying to hit Godzilla, but he whips around, slamming his tail into Kong, making him go flying back. Godzilla charges up, his dorsals glowing bright as he shoots his beam. Kong blocks it with his axe just in time as he stands, struggling to stay planted against the force of the beam. The axe blade glows bright as it struggles to hold all the energy. But then a green beam shoots out of the mountain at Godzilla, making him go flying back. Godzilla and Kong look over to see a mechanical foot step onto the ground. Mechagodzilla glowing bright green. Due to Godzilla arriving in Hong Kong much sooner, Kong didn't have time to destroy the vehicle, so they were able to get the hollow earth energy to Mechagodzilla, and the blue power mixed with Ghidorah's awakening energy, making it an emerald green. Godzilla roars in anger, charging Mechagodzilla, charges up and shoots a beam to his right and swings his head to the left, the beam cutting into the ground as Godzilla reaches it, and it all explodes. Godzilla stops in his tracks, slightly dazed, before a mechanical energized punch comes out of the smoke, punching Godzilla across the face, making him slam into a building. Mechagodzilla grabs his tail, swings him around in a full 360 before throwing him across the city. Godzilla crashes into multiple buildings before landing on the ground. The mechanical titan charges before Godzilla could get up and slams a foot down onto him. Godzilla charges, his hand glows red as he stabs his claws into the metal, an EMP-infused claw. It shoots through the mech, making him stutter for only a brief moment before his mouth glows emerald. But before he can shoot, Kong jumps onto his back, stabbing his axe into his head and pulling it back, making him shoot his beam into the sky. Mechagodzilla's tail shoots up, stabbing Kong back and throwing him off as he reaches back and grabs the axe, ripping it out of his head as he holds it. Godzilla gets an idea. His back glows as he shoots a beam at the axe, finally giving it that energy overload, and it explodes in the mecha's face. The mecha falls into his back, the metal shell gone on his face as Godzilla sees the Ghidorah skull. He was right. Godzilla gets up, charging up again, shooting his atomic breath at Mechagodzilla, but the mech does the same, the two beams clashing in the middle. Godzilla shoots more energy, overpowering the proton scream, and the beam engulfs the head Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla roars as he uses his energy he has left to shoot a beam at the ground at Godzilla's feet. Godzilla looks down, but it's too late to move, being caught off guard and being flown into the air by an explosion. Mechagodzilla stood up, his remaining eye looking down at the Gojira. The green glow climbs up Mechagodzilla's back. Kong jumps at the mech, but his tail stabs into his chest, pinning him down. Godzilla, dazed, is unable to react in time before Mechagodzilla uses all his energy left to shoot a beam out of his mouth right at Godzilla's chest. Godzilla roars in pain before being cut off from a giant green explosion. Kong uses his arm to block all the smoke and debris as they fly out. After a few minutes, the mechanical kaiju stands in the dust, scanning the land to see if Godzilla stands. After a few minutes of no motion, Mechagodzilla looks over at Kong, ready to finish him off, but a red beam shoots out, cutting the mech in half. The top half slips off, crashing onto the ground as Godzilla walks out of the dust, holding his bleeding chest before heading off into the water, not caring about Kong anymore and more about needing to heal. Years later, in 2027, that sinkhole opens in hollow earth. Hours later, Kong grabs onto the pyramid, walking past it. Godzilla's eye shoots open, sensing Kong on the surface. Godzilla jumps out of the water, roaring as he dives, swimming to Egypt. Godzilla makes landfall, charging towards Kong before he can react. Godzilla tackles him through a pyramid. Kong falls onto the ground, rolling out of the way to miss a stomp from Godzilla. Kong's beast gloves charges and punches Godzilla in the leg, making him fall over. Kong gets on top of Godzilla, punching him left and right. Godzilla charges before getting knocked unconscious. Godzilla soon wakes back up while Kong is dragging him. His mouth glows as he shoots his atomic breath at Kong, but he barely dodges, hiding behind the pyramids. The breath clips him as he falls down. Godzilla stomps onto Kong's chest. His eyes glow bright red. He's going to finish what he started back in Hong Kong, but suddenly get us blasted off by Mothra's god rays. After they all three roar up into the sky, and they all go into the portal. Scar King breaks through the wall as he sees Godzilla and Kong charging at them. Godzilla jumps out of the ground, running beside Kong as they charge at Scar King and Shimo. Right before they collide, all gravity goes away and they all fly into the air. Godzilla pushes himself off the rock's tail, whipping and hitting great apes while Shimo tackles him. Gravity activates as Shimo and Scar King falls into the portal Kong, and Godzilla lands off to the side. About to jump in before they hear a roar, they both look back and see a great ape glowing green, Kratos, the rival's son. with black fur with a green tint and wearing a Ghidorah skull on his head. Godzilla roars, his dorsals flashing red to intimidate. Kratos slides down the mountain, jumping off halfway, landing on the ground. Godzilla charges, but Kratos dodges as he balls up his fist glowing bright green as he punches Godzilla across the head, making him crash into the mountain. Kong roars as he charges up his beast glove and punches Kratos, but it doesn't do much. Kratos grabs Kong by the neck and slams him onto the ground. Godzilla rams into Kratos, making him stumble back. Kratos looks at Godzilla, his green eyes glowing through the eye socket of the skull. He roars, jumping into the air as he grabs onto Godzilla, tackling him onto the ground. He reels his fist back and punches Godzilla across the face, and he does it again and again and again. Kratos' fists glows more and more before he rises both of his fists up, glowing bright green with electricity swirling around them, as Godzilla looks up trying to shoot his atomic breath, but gets brutally interrupted as the great ape slams his fists down onto Godzilla. A green shockwave goes across the land, making the grounder open up, as all three of them fall deeper into hollow earth. The fall past the subterranean realm, as they fall deeper into a land that people would call hell itself. They land onto the volcanic ground. Other Rodens look from volcanoes as they see the Titans land. They are now in the infraterranean realm. Kratos roars at Godzilla, changing with an electric fist, due only Godzilla to dodge, and the fist hits the ground. Kong grabs a rock as he throws it at Kratos. Godzilla senses Shimo freezing the world, so from down in the infraterranean realm, he does his alpha call, telling all surface Titans to go stop Scar King and Shimo. On the surface, Scar King laughs as he is slammed back by tusks. Scar King crashes onto the ground, looking up at the Titan. Behemoth is the first to intervene. He roars as Scar King demands Shimo to attack. Kratos climbs onto a volcano, his fists glowing an emerald green as he roars and slams them down, making the rocks shatter and break as lava pours out. Kong runs to get to high ground as Godzilla roars, being covered by lava. Kratos looks down at the river as he sees dorsal plates cut through the lava swimming to him. Kratos jumps to a different mountain, sliding down it as it lands on solid ground, and Godzilla rises, lava dripping down his body as he stares at him. Kratos roars as he charges, and Godzilla does the same. They collide in the middle, their hands gripping each other as they struggle. Kratos' head butts Godzilla, making him stumble as he uppercuts Goji, making him fall backwards. Kong grabs a lava-covered boulder. It burns his hands as he throws at Kratos. He looks over and gets hit by the boulder. Kratos stands up to only get blasted down by a beam from Godzilla while he stands. Kratos manages to stand up. Godzilla shoots another beam, but Kratos doesn't dodge or run. He brings his head down as the beam slams into the Ghidorah skull. Kratos struggles slightly to keep his footing, but the skull starts to absorb the energy. Red-orange electric flickers on the horns of the skull as it soon turns yellow, mixing the energy with the green as Kratos' eyes glow yellow. Godzilla stops shooting and Kratos roars into the sky as he slams his hands together, making a yellow shockwave ring out, matching Ghidorah's energy. The heat-resistant trees evaporate, and the wave shoots over the mountains, burning the rocks to dust as Kong tries to run out of the range, but gets swarmed by the power, roaring in pain as Godzilla braces himself and takes the blast, struggling to stay up. Shimo crashes into buildings as Methuselah steps onto the land, roaring. Scar King dodges an attack from Tiamat. Scar King whips his whip as it cuts into her eye. She roars in pain as he quickly orders Shimo to freeze her. In one beam, Tiamat gets frozen and soiled. Godzilla falls onto the ground as Kong is burned and battered. Kratos climbs onto a mountain, standing on top of it, looking down at the Alphas. Godzilla stands up, weakly glaring at the great ape. His dorsal plates flash again as he stands up straight. He starts to charge up, taking a deep breath, his mouth glowing red. Kratos looks at him with suspicion, not quite sure what he's doing. And in one swift motion, Godzilla looks at Kratos and roars out a sonic roar. The ground shakes as the blast moves the rocks as it makes Kratos' ears explode. The Ghidorah skull creaks as he falls back, tumbling down the mountainside. Kratos plants his hands into the ground, trying to get up, But Godzilla slams his foot down onto the back of the Titan. He reaches down and rips the Ghidorah skull off of his head. Godzilla's back glows as the red-orange climbs up his back, stopping at his mouth as he charges. Kratos roars in before his head is blasted off by the beam, cutting through the rock with ease. Godzilla roars up into the sky in victory. Scylla crashes through buildings as Scar King is ready to finish her off, but then he hears the roar. He looks back in fear as he sees Godzilla stepping onto the land, almost drained of his energy but not backing down. He roars at Scar King, shooting a beam immediately. Scar King tries to dodge, but Scylla stabs her claws into his sides, keeping him still. He looks back and sees the beam hitting his chest. Scar King roars in pain as the skin melts and the beam goes right through him. His body falls limply. Godzilla roars again, telling all the Titans to go back to their territories as he goes back into the water to rest for the next fight. This was never just about strength. It was about endurance, adaptation, and dominance. Godzilla didn't win because he was invincible. He won because he refused to fall. In this timeline, evolution came at a cost, but balance was restored for now. Thank you all for waiting. Until next time, stay epic.